A large crowd had gathered in a desert-like area to listen to Jesus. As the sun began to set, thousands of people were struggling with fatigue and hunger. They had come from distant lands to listen to Jesus' teachings. However, as the hours passed, the feeling of hunger grew stronger in this large crowd. The children were restless, and the elderly were looking around with worried eyes. These people, spread over a wide area, were searching for a beacon of hope in the middle of the desert. The students approached Jesus when they saw the state of the crowd. There was deep anxiety on their faces and the desperation of not being able to find a solution. "This is a desolate place," they asked. "How can we feed so many people?" Jesus looked at his disciples with a calm and reassuring smile. Without showing any signs of concern, he told them to give him food. The students looked at each other in surprise because they didn't have enough food with them. Jesus' words had left a question mark in their minds. His peaceful and steady demeanor gave the students a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, a small child emerged from the crowd. He walked towards Jesus with a humble basket in his hand. The child offered Jesus only 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. The students were even more surprised when they saw this small gift. They whispered, "How can so little food be enough for thousands of people?" Jesus gratefully accepted the child's gift and raised his hands to heaven. Closing her eyes, she recited a prayer of gratitude to God. He said that with God's blessing, everything would be sufficient. The crowd was watching this scene with curiosity, trying to understand what would happen. The child's innocent gift and Jesus' prayer created an anticipation in the air. Jesus handed the bread and fish to his disciples. The disciples, at Jesus' instruction, began to distribute the food to the crowd. A miracle was happening. The bread and fish multiplied in their hands. First, a wave of astonishment spread through the crowd, then shouts of joy rose. People were passing food to each other, and their hunger was beginning to subside. The children were laughing with joy, the worry on their faces replaced by happiness. Everyone was fed, and there was even leftover food. Jesus fed more than 5,000 people with a child's small gift. This event showcased God's boundless power and the miracle of sharing. People were in awe of this divine grace. Jesus turned to the satisfied and happy crowd. He addressed them with words that carried a deep meaning. He said, "Sharing and believing make miracles possible in our lives." This miracle didn't just satisfy a physical hunger. At the same time, it reminded people of God's infinite love. It showed the importance of sharing and the power of acting with faith. The crowd listened carefully to Jesus' words, feeling a peace in their hearts. The students were in deep admiration of this great miracle. The sunset painted the sky with dramatic and warm colors. Happy faces reflected this extraordinary event that occurred at the end of the day. Jesus and his disciples slowly began to move away, bidding farewell to the crowd. People looked after them with grateful glances. This experience would remain an unforgettable memory in their lives. The narrator once again emphasized the profound meaning of this miracle. He said, "A miracle, in fact, can start in the heart of every single person. A small bread and a sincere prayer can change the whole world." As Jesus and his disciples disappeared over the horizon, they left behind a happy crowd. Children were playing games, families were chatting peacefully. The last lights in the sky were falling upon this sacred moment. The music slowed down, turning into a peaceful melody. The sounds of piano and choir carried the echoes of the miracle that had occurred. This story was a lesson to be told for generations. The power of faith, sharing, and love would always exist. This miracle, which took place in the middle of the desert, became a symbol of hope. As people returned to their homes, they carried a new belief in their hearts. Jesus' teachings were once again reinforced by this miracle.